My girlfriend looked at me and said, "I'm not sure you're the man I want right now." I smiled and replied, "I'll wait." What I didn't say was that waiting didn't mean standing still. While she was at work, I packed my things and vanished without drama. I stopped answering calls and let her backup plan unravel on its own. Months later, our eyes met again, across a crowded dance floor at a friend's wedding. No words were needed. We both understood what had changed. We were sitting on the couch on a Sunday night, the TV on but muted, the kind of quiet that pretends to be peaceful. I'm Matt, 30M. She's Claire, 28F. Together a little over 2 years, living together for one. From the outside, we looked solid. Inside, things had been uneven. I just didn't know how bad until she finally said it out loud. She didn't look upset when she said it. That's what got me. She crossed her legs, glanced at her phone, then at me, and said, "I'm just not sure you're the man I want right now. Not forever. Not long term. Right now?" Like I was a subscription she was reconsidering. I waited for more. An explanation. A reason. Something to fix. Instead, she added, "Don't freak out. I'm just being honest." Honest. That was her favorite word whenever she wanted to say something cruel without consequences. I asked, "What does that mean?" She shrugged. "It means I feel stuck. I need space to think, to see what else is out there. You're great, Matt. Just, maybe not enough for me anymore." Enough. Another favorite. I noticed how calm she was. How practiced. Like she'd rehearsed this in her head on the drive home from work, probably after texting someone she told me not to worry about. I smiled. Not because I felt okay, but because something inside me went very still. "I'll wait," I said. Her shoulders dropped in relief immediately. She smiled, leaned over, kissed my cheek. "Thank you for being mature about this." That's when I understood something important. She thought waiting meant staying. Staying meant availability. Availability meant safety. What she didn't know, what I didn't say, was that waiting didn't mean standing still. It meant moving quietly. And she was about to find out what life looked like without the guy she assumed would always be there when her options ran out. The next morning felt normal. That's what messed with me the most. Claire got up early for work, rushed through her usual routine, complained about traffic, asked if I'd pick up groceries later. She kissed me goodbye like nothing had shifted, like she hadn't just put our relationship on probation. "Love you," she said automatically. I smiled again. "Have a good day." The door closed. Silence settled in. I stood there for a long time, just listening to the quiet of an apartment that suddenly didn't feel like home. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I paid attention. Her laptop was open on the counter. Not snooping, just there. A message notification popped up from a name I recognized too well. Jason, the friend from work. The one who texted late. The one she swore was harmless. "Can't believe you finally said it." About time. That was it. No heart emoji. No flirting. Just confirmation. I didn't feel angry. I felt validated. So I started packing. Not dramatically. No trash bags. No throwing things. Just my clothes, my books, my laptop, the few pieces of furniture that were mine. I skipped anything that felt replaceable. I left the couch she picked. The art she liked. The mugs with inside jokes that suddenly felt fake. I forwarded my mail. Transferred my direct deposit to a different account she didn't know about. Called my landlord and explained. Turns out my name had always been the primary one on the lease. Funny how that works. By noon, my car was full. Before I left, I cleaned. Not for her, for me. I hate chaos. I left the key on the counter. No note. No speech. Nothing for her to argue with or reinterpret. My phone buzzed around 3:17 p.m. "Hey, are you home?" I didn't answer. Another text came 10 minutes later. "This isn't funny, Matt." I turned my phone face down and drove. Waiting, I realized, didn't mean pausing my life while she explored her options. It meant letting her feel what space actually costs. And she was about to learn that her safety net had legs, and it knew exactly when to walk away. She noticed I was gone that night. I know because my phone lit up like a malfunctioning smoke alarm around 7:40 p.m. Claire never came home on time unless she had a reason to. Normally she'd stay late, grab drinks, network. That evening, she rushed back. "Where are you? Did you seriously leave?" "Matt, this isn't what I meant." I didn't respond. Not because I was trying to punish her, but because anything I said would have been used as leverage. Questions invite negotiation. Silence doesn't. An hour later, she called. I let it ring. Then came the shift. "Okay, stop being dramatic." I said I needed space, not that we were breaking up. "You're overreacting." There it was. Reframing. Making my absence the problem instead of her uncertainty. By midnight, the tone changed again. Can we talk tomorrow? I didn't think you'd actually do this. That message stuck with me. Actually do this. Like leaving was theoretical. Like I was supposed to hover just outside her life, waiting to be chosen again. I slept at a friend's place that night. Didn't tell anyone the full story. Just said, I needed to get out. He didn't ask questions. Good friends rarely do. The next morning, Claire texted like nothing was wrong. I'm going to work. We'll figure this out later. Later. Another holding pattern. That's when I realized something important. She hadn't broken up with me. She demoted me. Kept me on the bench while she checked if her friend could be something more. I wasn't angry anymore. I was embarrassed for past me. For how long I'd accepted half answers and soft disrespect because I thought patience was loyalty. I blocked her number at noon. Not forever. Just long enough to breathe. I changed my routine. Hit the gym. Took extra shifts. Started sleeping better. The quiet was uncomfortable at first, then addictive. By the end of the week, mutual friends started reaching out. Hey, are you and Claire okay? She seems stressed. I kept my response consistent. She asked for space. I gave it. What I didn't say was that space has gravity. And when you remove the thing someone leans on, they don't float. They fall. And Claire was just beginning to realize that the man she wasn't sure she wanted had stopped waiting entirely. Blocking her number didn't stop the noise. It just rerouted it. By the weekend, I was hearing about Claire through other people. Mutual friends. Her coworkers' girlfriends. Even my sister, who barely talked to her. She's freaking out, my sister said. Says you ghosted her. Ghosted. Interesting word for someone who asked for space and got exactly that. Apparently, Claire had been telling everyone a slightly edited version of events. That I panicked. That I couldn't handle uncertainty. That she was just being honest, and I took it the wrong way. What she left out was the part where honesty came with a safety net. Where she expected me to wait politely while she explored her feelings with someone else. Jason, to be specific. I found that out from a friend who worked in the same building as them. They've been having lunch together a lot, he said carefully. She looks tense. Good. A few days later, I unblocked her number, not to talk, but because I didn't want her using my silence as proof of cruelty. The second I did, my phone buzzed. Finally, we need to talk. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. Out of hand. Like it was a misunderstanding that just needed smoothing over. I replied with one sentence. You said you weren't sure you wanted me. I made that decision easier for you. Her response came fast. That's not fair. I just needed time. Time to compare. Time to test. Time to see if the backup plan could become the main one. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't justify leaving. Instead, I said, I'm not waiting anymore. That's when the tone shifted. So you're really doing this? After everything? Everything. Another vague word meant to carry guilt without specifics. I muted the conversation and went on with my day. What Claire didn't realize was that her backup plan depended on me staying predictable, paying half the rent, being emotionally available, being the stable option she could fall back on if Jason turned out to be exactly what he always was, temporary. And without me there, the math stopped working. Bills don't care about uncertainty. Leases don't pause for self-discovery. And men don't wait forever just because someone asks nicely. She wanted space. She got distance. And distance has a way of exposing who was really holding things together all along. The collapse didn't happen all at once. It never does. At first, Claire tried to act like everything was fine. She kept posting gym selfies, brunch plates, vague quotes about choosing yourself. But underneath that layer, the practical stuff started unraveling. She texted me one night, careful, almost polite. Hey, quick question. Did you change the internet password? I hadn't. I'd canceled the account entirely. It was in my name. I replied simply, yeah. I closed it. There was a pause. Longer than usual. Okay. Well, can you send me the login so I can reopen it? I stared at the message for a while before answering. You can open your own account. That's when the edge crept back into her tone. You don't have to be like this. Like what? Independent? A few days later, she asked about the rent. Then the utilities. Then the car insurance she'd been piggybacking on temporarily for almost a year. Each message more strained than the last. Each one revealing just how much of her space had been subsidized by my presence. Jason didn't step in. That was the quiet part she hadn't planned for. Turns out backup plans look great in theory, but tend to disappear when real responsibility shows up. He was fun, flirty, supportive at lunch. Less so when she hinted at splitting bills or staying over more than a night or two. She called me after that. First time she'd actually called since I left. Can we just talk? She asked, voice tight. I didn't expect things to get this messy. I kept my voice even. You asked for uncertainty. This is what it looks like. She exhaled sharply. You're punishing me. No, I said. I'm just not fixing things anymore. Silence on the line. Then, softer. I thought you'd wait. There it was. The assumption laid bare. I did wait, I replied. Long enough to realize I didn't want to. I hung up before she could respond. That night, I felt something close to peace. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just the calm that comes when you stop carrying weight that was never yours to begin with. Claire was discovering what happens when the man she wasn't sure about stops holding everything together. And she was running out of places to land. By the second month, Claire stopped pretending this was just space. She showed up at my gym one evening, not by accident. She stood near the front desk like she'd been there a while, scrolling on her phone, waiting to be noticed. When our eyes met, she smiled like relief had finally arrived. Hey, she said. You look good. I nodded. You too. That was a lie, but a polite one. She looked tired. Not sad, frustrated. Like someone whose plan wasn't unfolding the way they'd imagined. Can we talk? She asked. Just for a minute. We stepped outside. No yelling. No scene. Just the two of us standing under fluorescent lights. I didn't think you'd disappear like that, she said. Most guys wouldn't. I know, I replied. She frowned. That's not a compliment. It's not meant to be. She crossed her arms, defensive already. Jason and I, it didn't really go anywhere. There it was. Casual. Tossed out like trivia. Like it didn't explain everything. I figured, I said. Her eyes narrowed. So you knew? I didn't need details, I replied. I just needed to listen to what you actually said. She scoffed. I was confused. No, I said calmly. You were shopping. That hit. I saw it land because she immediately shifted tactics. You're acting like you're better than me now, she snapped. Like you won something. I didn't win, I said. I just left. She stared at me for a long moment, then said quietly, I miss you. I believe that, just not in the way she wanted me to. You miss the version of me that made your life easier, I said. Not the one standing here. Her jaw tightened. So that's it. You're just done? I nodded. I stopped waiting. She laughed bitterly. You think you'll do better? I already am, I said, not cruelly, just honestly. She walked away without another word. As I went back inside, I realized something important. The hardest part wasn't leaving. It was surviving the moment she finally realized I meant it. And that moment had just passed. After that night at the gym, I thought it was over for good. I was wrong, just not in the way Claire expected. She didn't reach out directly again. Instead, she went indirect. Mutual friends started dropping hints. Casual comments wrapped in concern. Claire's not doing great. She's been really reflective lately. She says she understands things differently now. I didn't ask follow-up questions. People who truly understand don't need messengers. What I did hear, eventually, was that her life had gotten smaller. She moved out of the apartment we'd shared. Jason faded fast once the fun part ended and the practical part began. Turns out he liked the idea of Claire more than the reality of supporting her. Funny how often that happens. A few weeks later, I got an email from her. Not a text. An email. Long, thoughtful. Carefully worded like she'd edited it 12 times. She wrote about growth. About mistakes. About how she wasn't in a good headspace and took stability for granted. She said she admired how calm I'd been through everything. That she finally understood what she'd almost lost. She ended it with, I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know I see things clearly now. That line almost worked. Almost. Because clarity that arrives only after consequences isn't clarity. It's panic dressed up as maturity. I didn't reply. Instead, I focused on my own life. New routines, new people, a version of myself that didn't feel like it was waiting to be evaluated. The absence of her constant judgment felt like oxygen. Months passed. Then I got the wedding invitation. A mutual friend. Big venue. Summer date. Claire's name on the guest list. I stared at it longer than I expected to. I didn't feel nervous, or angry, or hopeful. I felt curious, because I knew something she didn't yet. The man who would walk into that wedding wasn't the one who'd said, I'll wait. He was the one who learned what waiting actually costs, and decided never to pay it again. And sooner or later, our paths were going to cross. Not in private, not in text messages, but under chandeliers and music and witnesses, where there would be no confusion about who stayed and who moved on. The wedding was in late September. One of those venues that tries very hard to feel timeless. Soft lights, white linens, a string quartet playing covers people pretended not to recognize. I almost didn't go. Not because I was afraid of seeing Claire, but because I wasn't sure I cared enough to witness her reaction. Curiosity won. I arrived alone. That mattered more than I expected. No date. No explanation. Just me, comfortable in my skin, talking to friends I hadn't seen in months. Somewhere between the ceremony and the open bar, I realized something strange. I wasn't scanning the room for her. That changed when the music did. The DJ switched to something upbeat. People flooded the dance floor, and that's when it happened. Pure accident, pure timing. I looked up, and our eyes met across the room. Claire froze. Not dramatically, not obviously, just enough that I noticed. Her smile faltered. Her body stiffened. Like she'd just seen a ghost she didn't believe in anymore. She looked surprised. Not hurt. Not angry. Surprised. I held her gaze for a second longer than polite, then nodded. Not smug. Not cold. Just acknowledgement. She nodded back automatically, then looked away fast, pretending to laugh at something the woman next to her said. I didn't approach her. I didn't need to. Because I could see it now, clear as day. The comparison running in her head. The mental math she'd been avoiding for months finally adding up. I wasn't waiting. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't circling back. I was just fine. Later, a mutual friend leaned in and whispered, "She's been watching you all night." I smiled. I hope she's having fun. And I meant it. That was the moment I understood something important. Closure doesn't come from conversations or apologies. It comes when the person who underestimated you finally sees the result and realizes there's no role left for them in it. The song ended. The room shifted. And Claire was left standing in a crowd, realizing the man she wasn't sure about had quietly become someone she no longer had access to. Without a word being said, I didn't talk to Claire that night. Not then. Not later. But weddings have a way of pulling people into the same orbit whether they want to or not. It happened near the bar, toward the end of the night. I was mid-conversation with an old college friend when I felt it, that familiar awareness, like someone saying your name without sound. I turned, and there she was. Close this time. Too close to pretend it was accidental. "Hey," she said. Her voice was softer than I remembered. Less sharp. Less certain. "Hey," I replied. We stood there for a second, the music loud enough to fill the silence for us. She glanced down at my hand, probably expecting to see someone else's fingers lace through mine. When she didn't, I saw something flicker. Hope, maybe. Or relief. "You look different," she said. I smiled. "You've said that before." She laughed nervously. "I mean it in a good way." "I know." She shifted her weight. "I heard you moved." "Yeah." "And work's going well?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "It is." Each answer shorter than the last. Not rude. Just complete. There was nothing for her to pull on. She took a breath. "I think about you sometimes," she said. "About how things ended." I nodded. I figured. Her eyes searched my face. "Do you ever think about what might have happened if?" "No," I said gently. Not harsh. Not angry. Just honest. That stopped her cold. "Oh," she said quietly. I could see it then, the realization settling in. That this wasn't a standoff. That I wasn't holding a position. I'd already left the board. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, almost to herself. "I know," I replied. "But intent doesn't change impact." We stood there another moment, longer this time. Then she smiled, small and sad. "I'm glad you're doing well." "I am too," I said. And I meant it. She walked away first. I watched her disappear back into the crowd, surrounded by people, laughter, music, yet somehow alone in a way I wasn't anymore. That was when it finally clicked for her. Not because I explained it, not because I punished her, but because she could see, in real time, that I had moved on and taken my future with me. And there was no backup plan for that. The rest of the wedding blurred together after that. I danced. I laughed. I stayed late. Not to prove anything, just because I wanted to. When I finally left, it wasn't with a dramatic exit or a final glance over my shoulder. Claire wasn't the center of the room anymore. She wasn't even a factor. On the drive home, I thought back to that night on the couch. Her voice. That sentence. "I'm not sure you're the man I want right now." At the time, it felt like uncertainty. Now I understood it for what it was. A test she expected me to fail by waiting. I didn't vanish to hurt her. I didn't disappear to make a point. I left because staying would have meant shrinking myself into a placeholder. Someone convenient until something better came along. Waiting doesn't make you loyal. It makes you available. And availability without respect turns into invisibility fast. A few weeks after the wedding, a mutual friend mentioned Claire was moving cities. Fresh start, apparently. I hope she got one. Truly. People don't grow without friction, and we'd both had enough of that. As for me, Life kept moving forward in quiet, solid ways. New routines. New connections. No more guessing games disguised as honesty. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about that last look we shared on the dance floor. Not with regret, just recognition. The moment she realized the man who said, "I'll wait," hadn't been waiting at all. He'd been choosing himself. And that choice didn't come with drama, speeches, or ultimatums. Just a packed car, a closed door, and the calm certainty that the right people don't ask you to pause your life while they decide your worth. Bye-bye.